Hey there, it's the ABCs of Preschool podcast, the place to be for busy moms, teachers, and childcare providers. I'm your host, Miss Amber, an early childhood expert with nearly 3 decades of experience and a proud mama too. I know you're running around with those littles, so let's jump right in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ABCs of Preschool podcast. I'm your host, Miss Amber, and today is a really big day for me. It's huge. You know, sometimes when moments happen, experiences happen, things happen in our life that aren't expected, they can leave a lasting impression on your life. And that date of that moment, that experience, that phone call is forever like scarred into us. March 11th. 15 years ago, 15. It's a huge day. It's a huge week, and it's a huge year for me. 15 years ago, I heard the words, "You have cancer." And 15 years later, here I am, alive and well, and living my most amazing, extraordinary life. Like, I have to break this down, and I just had to do a podcast about it, because if you would have asked me 15 years ago, even moments before getting the phone call or moments after that phone call, that my life would look this way, feel this way, that I would be loved this way 15 years later, and I would be not only alive and well, but thriving in a way I only dreamt about, I probably would have laughed in your face, honestly. So much can happen in 15 freaking years. And, it's so true what they say, because time just flies. I mean, in so many ways, it feels like yesterday that I got that phone call. And then in so many ways, it feels like an eternity ago. Like that seems like a whole different life. But today is 15 years of being cancer-free. And I've talked about this in one of my episodes, the You Have Cancer episode. I shared my story. And I think what I want to talk about today is really designing that life that you want. You don't need a cancer diagnosis. You don't need to ever hear the words, "You have cancer," to live the life you love and love the life you live. That's been one of my mottos. It's tattooed on my arm. And I think for me, 15 years ago, that cancer diagnosis changed the course of my life. I was doing an interview yesterday I was a guest on a different podcast, and we were talking about how the emotional stress, I think my emotional stress, the way I handled life was not healthy. I really, truly feel like that's part of why I got cancer. So I'm very mindful now of how I live. But my old life was so different 15 years ago. I mean, one, my children were super young. They were little. So I was like, mama, I was on 24/7, of course. I was running this way and running that way. And I loved it. I loved being a mom, but my coping mechanism was being busy. I was busy all the time. I wore a mask. So many people would look at me and think I had it all together. I had beautiful marriage. I had 4 healthy children. I ran my own business. I was a volunteer, very active in my community. I was an active mom. I would be at the soccer game, soccer mom. I did it all. I was it all. I was it all. Does that make sense? I don't think so. I wore a mask. And I think that mask caught up to me with my cancer diagnosis. So looking back on the last 15 years and the amount of growth, the amount of letting go of that mask, literally throwing it off, stomping on it, burning it, and never, ever putting it on again, has been so life-changing for me. Today, I have not felt this healthy, this good, this alive in years. I can't even remember the last time I felt this good. but it's been a journey and it's been a process. And for change in our lives, for growth in our lives, it does not come overnight, right? It does not come overnight. It's the compounding effect. I think there's a book, right? It's little by little. It's acknowledging, owning, letting go, working through, and working towards being a better person. So 15 years ago, that call that I got literally changed the direction of my life. And it wasn't overnight. It definitely was not overnight. Going through cancer was a whole thing in itself, losing my breasts, just all of it was a whole thing in itself. Part of that process, I thought my marriage at the time could do a 180. I had thought that my cancer diagnosis was a second chance for my relationship with my first husband. It was a relationship where it didn't serve me well. And it was a relationship built on eggshells and stress and tiptoeing around things and being the yes girl. I was the yes girl. I felt as though I lost my voice, hence putting on a mask in that relationship. And that went on for years. So when I got the diagnosis of cancer, there was this part of me that was, maybe this is a turning point. Maybe this will help the marriage. And to be honest, I felt like the first 2 years after it, I did believe that. I did think that. But it wasn't until my 5-year cancer anniversary, when I got to 5 years, and my oncologist said, "You're doing great. Go live your life." Those words hit me in such a strong way, a way that when I was truly being honest with myself, I recognized that I was pretending every single day. Now, I was not pretending about my love for my children. I was not pretending how much I loved them, cared for them, and wanted to be a part of their lives. That was never fake. My mask, I wasn't pretending on how much I loved working at my schools, running them, teaching. That was not fake. That was absolutely real. I loved people. I loved volunteering. I loved giving back. Like, that was me. But my mask was pretending that I was happily married, because in reality, I cried myself to sleep for almost 10 years. That was the reality. And every morning I would wake up and put that mask back on, and I would pretend everything was perfect. But on the inside, I was slowly fading. I was slowly disappearing. And 5 years, my 5-year cancer anniversary was pivotal. It was the moment that I realized I could not go on this way anymore. It's a strange thing when you get cancer because, like for me, I believe emotional stress, being in fight or flight mode, pretending, losing my voice. I think a lot of that played in my body's immune system. So you don't want to carry stress, because this is the weird thing about cancer. You don't want to get stressed because you don't want to get cancer, but then you stress that you're too stressed and that you're going to get cancer again. It's like this weird thing. But that 5-year mark, my 5-year cancer anniversary, was a turning point. Now, it still took me, 3 years to finally walk away from my first marriage. So in total, it really took me almost 10 years to walk away. But it took me 3 more years after that 5-year anniversary to be brave enough to have the courage to walk away. And if you've been in my shoes, if you're considering that move as a mother, it is not easy. I still struggle with that today, although I am living my best extraordinary life now. Like, I cannot believe the way my life is now. But that decision, those moments, those years of thinking about that decision is the hardest time of my life, way harder than cancer. Because cancer, I did not choose. I didn't choose to have cancer. Cancer chose me. To leave my marriage after my 5-year cancer anniversary, a few years later, that was my choosing. That was my doing. And to sit my children down and to tell them that I was going to break up their family, that I am choosing to live separately, possibly may always haunt me in some way. I've moved a lot past that now. I think if we dwell in our past, sometimes it could just eat us up alive. But I'm thankful that I was brave enough. I was courageous enough. I'm thankful that I had a career, that I started young at 23 with these preschools, that I financially could leave, that I was not trapped, that I could stand on my own 2 feet. I was 19 when I got married. I was a child. I have a 19-year-old now, and I was 19 when I got married, and I had only known my whole adult life of marriage and being a wife and being a mom and living with a partner. So to be on my own, 7 years or 6 years after my cancer diagnosis was so scary. To go back into the dating world, I didn't even know how to date. I literally did not know how to date. I had one boyfriend before my ex-husband, got married at 19. I was super religious. I didn't date. So it changed me. But I grew as a person. I learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I started to gain my voice back again. I could speak my truths even when my voice shook. I started to do things that I've always wanted to do. Like at night, though, it's so weird when you're a full-time mom and then all of a sudden you only see your kids every other week. It's so horrible and it's so weird. So I didn't want to be home every night. So I would go to these meetups. I would be in writing groups or walking groups. Like I did things that just took me out of my comfort zone. I started to learn who I was as an individual. And I started to find my voice and find what I wanted in life. And I started to believe that living a peaceful, joyful, happy life was possible. Even though at those moments I didn't see it yet, I didn't feel it yet, but I started a path of healing. And I saw therapists. I did energy work. I know that sounds woo-woo. I dove into finding healing myself and also recognizing my part in the relationship, my part of choosing that relationship, my part of keeping that for so long. I had to own my roles in that. And 10-year cancer anniversary came. 5 years ago, I had my 10-year cancer anniversary. My divorce was final. I was living on my own. I found my voice. I was going through just a lot of really finally letting so much go. And what I wanted for my life was I wanted to be in love. I wanted to find my life partner. I wanted to experience life with the love of my life. And I remember working with someone. She was an energy worker, an energy healer. I know, sounds woo woo. And I remember her saying, Amber, start speaking what you want. Say it out loud. Speak it. Write it down and speak it. Feel it. Believe it. And I'm telling you, that was probably one of the most powerful advice that I've ever gotten. And I want to tell it to you. It changed my life. At that time, a lot of my relationships, or actually a few of them, were very broken. There was a lot of anger towards me for leaving. But I was believing, I was writing down, and I started to live a very intentional life, like really intentional. I wrote down my goals, I wrote down my dreams, and I would say them like 50 times a day. I would literally say, I am financially free. I am financially free. I found the love of my life. I found the love of my life. Like simple things like that. I have the best relationship with my kids. I would say it and I would believe it, even if it wasn't happening at that moment. And my 10-year cancer anniversary was the year that I decided to take on life so fully. Like I decided to travel, that I wanted just to start traveling. And I was with a person for almost 17 years that didn't like to travel. And I always wanted to travel. So my 10-year cancer anniversary, I started to purposely start traveling. I took classes, like coaching classes. I started going, I was writing, I was doing all these things that brought me joy. I started to cut out the people that did not bring me joy. And the year of my 10-year cancer anniversary, I also chose to delegate my school and to step away. I took a 1-year sabbatical from my Loving Start Learning Centers. And I have an extraordinary team. And I decided to not work in the business anymore, but work on the business. And that was the most extraordinary year. My 10-year cancer anniversary is when I met the love of my life, my now husband, Seth. And it was that year, 10 years after my diagnosis, that I decided to live an intentional life with purpose. I wanted to be financially free. So I worked my butt off to have no debt in my personal life. I chose to be truthful, even if my voice shook, with all my interactions. And love came in my life. I worked hard to be financially free. I made that happen. I traveled. I made that happen. I decided to travel and go figure. I'm going to tell you a little story. About a week after my 10-year cancer anniversary, I was on an all women's cruise. It was like a mastermind group for women entrepreneurs. And most of the women on that cruise were older. And I remember one of them was happily remarried. And she had told me on that trip, write down what you want in your future spouse. This was March, late March, maybe a couple weeks into March. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trust her because she was super happily remarried. And I did. I wrote it down on my phone and I started to read it every day. I just started to read it. I started to believe it and feel it in my bones. That was March. In June, I met the love of my life. And go figure, he's a pilot. And it was an unspoken, I never put pilot on my list, but in my head, in my thoughts, I always thought it would be fun to marry a pilot because I love to travel so much. I was traveling since 16 years old when I first went to Mexico with the group. I had gone to Africa at 18 years old and to Thailand. Like I wanted to travel. Like travel is so important for me because I love learning about different cultures. And every time I travel, I feel like I grow as a person. It just fills my soul with joy. And that's what I decided my 10-year cancer anniversary was, to fill my life with joy and only joy. And I met Seth and he's a pilot and we have been literally traveling the world ever since. He's come into my life and has absolutely loved my children and been an incredible example of love to them. I never went back into the business to my schools. I've just worked on the business. It was a 1-year sabbatical that has turned into almost 5. And what I want to share and say is you don't have to have a diagnosis. You don't have to have a horrible life, tragic event to start living the life you love and love the life you live. 5 years ago, on my 10-year cancer anniversary, I decided to live intentionally. Life is going to happen. Things are going to happen. Like things are going to happen. Like my mom, almost 6 years ago, passed away. In a few weeks, it'll be 6 years. That was very sudden. It was very unexpected. It's not planned. So life is going to bring the hard. But there's so much power and beauty in us living intentionally. Are you on the hamster wheel? Are you like spinning all the time and stressed and emotionally stressed and you're just exhausted every night? What can you do to fix that? What can you let go or step away of, with? What can you say no to? Are you unhealthy? The past 5 years have been extraordinary, but I've also been on my own health journey. For a long time, I've had this story of I'm the sick girl and forget that. I'm like, let that go. I have never felt so good in my entire life. I've changed my diet. I've taken gluten out. I move my body every day. Like literally, I try to walk 4 miles a day most days. I drink so much water. I used to hate drinking water. I just feel extraordinary and amazing. But because now, 5 years later, after my 10-year anniversary, I'm happily remarried. I have the dream work schedule. I get to now serve and help other people. I'm doing exactly what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. I have an amazing relationship with my kids. I'm so thankful for them. I'm so thankful that they get to see love. They get to see examples of like true love, like a partnership that works together, is respectful. Like that is such a gift. I'm thankful that I worked really hard to be personally debt free and proud of that. It wasn't easy, but the list and the things that I've wanted, I've spoken and believed and worked towards. And I've really let go of people who do not serve me anymore. And there's no shame in that. I used to love throwing big, giant parties. The more, the merrier. That's not the case anymore. Like I have boundaries I've set up. I'm protecting myself. Like I never want to be in a situation where I lose my voice. I lose myself. So today is my 15-year cancer anniversary, and my life is never what I imagined. It was only what I thought was in my dreams. For 10 years, I used to cry myself to sleep and think, would I ever be loved the way I needed to be loved? Would I ever have true love in my life? I thought I was going to die without having that in my life. And so, cancer, 15 years later, I'm still here. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why I am the lucky one. I don't know why. I don't even know the words. I don't know why. But what I am going to do is I'm going to live my life fully because I'll never know why. But we have this moment, we have today, and that is all that we are promised. And so I am so thankful for those lessons because I'm not sure I would have left that old life, that life that I had to pretend every day. But today, 15 years later, I can honestly tell you, I am living my best and a most amazing life, a very intentional life. What is the life that you want? What do you see for your future? What is it that you're missing? What is it that you want? It is possible. It is so possible. You just have to start choosing intentionally of the life you want to live. And you don't have to have this diagnosis or a really traumatic event, but sometimes we need those events in our lives to shake us up, to wake us up from the hamster wheel that we're on. And that woke me up. And I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Happy freaking 15-year cancer anniversary to me. I'm still here. I am still alive. And I am thriving like I never imagined I would. I'm moving my body. I'm drinking my water. Eating my supplements. I'm health should be at the top of our list. It should be at the top of our daily list. Mamas, if you're listening, we put our children first. We put our tasks first. We put our husband first, and we get worn out. We get sick. Trust me. Start putting your health first. It's not being selfish. If we are not healthy, we cannot be there for our children. We cannot be there for our families. I ran myself so freaking thin. I was emotionally stressed. I was pretending. I was scared a lot. I was scared a lot. And that's really weird to say. I lived in a scared environment. I watched my words and I had to tiptoe every single day. And that freaking caught up to me. And I got sick and I lost my breasts. I've had to have a full hysterectomy. I've had a lot of health situations since then. Take care of your health. Our health is our longevity. And now sometimes things are out of our hands. We can't help it. But I've never felt so good because I prioritize my health. I don't start my day till later with meetings and calls because I wake up, I journal, I drink my water. I'm now doing fasting. I'm going to try my intermittent fasting, clean fasting. I do the supplements. I move my body. I walk. I'm not a huge gym person, but take your babies, go walking. I'm telling you, it makes you feel good. Our health is our key to longevity, and we have to be the examples for our children. If we are not the examples, like imagine what they're seeing, so thank you. I'm here. It's my 15-year cancer anniversary, and this year I've got to go big. I got to think of some big things to celebrate. I got to go on a big trip or something. Celebrate life today. Are you alive? Are you well? Are you moving? Celebrate life. We are alive. We are experiencing everything that this life has. Anyways, happy cancer anniversary. I truly am living the life that I love. And I really will. If you are struggling, I'm here. I'm so excited to help you in your business or whatever it is. Like, choose to live intentionally. I'm telling you, it can change your life. I am living proof. I am no one special. I am just a girl. I am just a mom living this life and figuring it out. But I have literally transformed my life. My life has been transformed completely. I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. For more information on me, visit thelovingstartway.com. Celebrate life this week, friends. Go do something fun. Go do something outside your comfort zone. Move your body, drink your water, and just love on your babies, love on your people. And I wish you a fabulous week. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hear this podcast. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss the next episode. For more information on how to work with me, Miss Amber, visit me at thelovingstartway.com or follow me on Insta at thelovingstartway.